Shalom and welcome to my Zoom presentation. We're going to be covering all the Septuagint. I hope the sound is optimal. This is Genesis chapter 2 today. AKA, this isn't even the same book. We're going to look verse by verse, line by line, on the differences between the Septuagint and the Masoretic text. So I already looked over this chapter in advance. That'll save us a lot of time. I felt like the last video, chapter 1, took a little longer than I would have wanted. It was almost 30 minutes. This one, hopefully, will be a lot less, but still quite informational and educational. So there are 25 verses in this chapter of Genesis. Number 1, verse 1 says, in the Masoretic, the whole host of them. And the Septuagint says the whole world of them instead of host. Because host usually, that word is affiliated or connected to people or a group of entities. But this is the world. This is talking about many things. It could even be more than one planet. I'm just speculating at this point. I mean, we do know about other planets in the solar system, but it's talking about everything. Okay, verse 2 is a wow verse. In the Masoretic, it says, on the seventh day, Elohim ended his work, which kind of implies he was still working on the seventh day. Like technically, if I say, okay, when did you end your work? Oh, I stopped working on Saturday. What, Saturday? That's the seventh day, my friend. The Septuagint says, and Elohim finished on the sixth day his works which he made, which makes more sense because 6 days you shall work, and the seventh day you shall rest. But and it says right there, and he ceased on the seventh day from all his works which he had made. In the Masoretic it says, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. Okay, I'll keep going. Verse 3. So again, I think verse 2 is a wow verse because it's basically saying the seventh day, the Shabbat, really is special time. You're not supposed to work during that day. Let's look at verse 3. Rested versus ceased. Okay. So you'll notice that Elohim, he rested from all his work in the Masoretic, or I'll just call it the MT from now on. From the MT Septuagint, I'll call the LXX. The LXX, or I'll just call it the L, the 70. The 70 says here, he ceased from all his work. He just stopped from all it, from doing that. I know Yeshua had a bold statement, says, my Father never stops working. And we can qualify this statement now because in the Masoretic, in the MT, it says all his work. But in the Septuagint, it says from all his works, which Elohim began to do. That's a big difference than me saying, okay, I started to work and I ceased from all of my work, everything, period. Whereas the Septuagint is more like, okay, I started a work and it's still going to continue, but I will cease from the work that I began to do. That's different than doing all work, period. So that means Elohim can still do work, just not the kind of work that he was doing. For example, Yehoshua, although it was a Shabbat, he continued to heal. He healed people. He continued to preach the gospel of the kingdom. Those are the works of Elohim. But to say that we can't work at all or do anything, lift a finger, for example, in the Masoretic, that would support that viewpoint, that don't even do any work, not even healing people. Whereas in the Septuagint, it supports a lifestyle where you go out, you're helping the community, you're going out being a productive member of society, but you're not trying to earn a living, you're just helping. You're doing work, but good work, doing good works. Okay, so that's verse 3. Verse 4, the book. It says here in the MT, these are the generations of the heaven and the earth, but it doesn't say that in the Septuagint. It says this is the book, the generation of heaven and earth. So this book, I guess Genesis you could call it, or Bereshit, however you want to call it, it is actually known as the book of the generation of heaven and earth. Or maybe this portion, I don't know. But it says that there. It says the book right there, not the generations. It's the book. So that's a very big point. I don't want to focus on all minor details, but I have to just bring up all the differences I catch. There may be more, but I did my best to seek them out and to notice them. So 5, man as a gardener. That's not much of a difference. It's just telling us that, Elohim, Jehovah, he's given us a role on this planet, not to destroy it and take advantage of it and, not just abuse it, destroy it, and not use it wisely. But he says we're here to cultivate it. That's our role on this planet, to take care of it. 6, fountain versus mist. So it says here in the MT, there's a mist upon the earth. A mist, I picture as, like, if you've ever been to Niagara Falls, you'll see like a mist rising from the waters. There's a fountain, that's a completely different thing. I think of, a geyser, Old Faithful, spurting. I picture a fountain, what a fountain looks like. That's a huge difference as well. How can a mist water the earth? Although that it could, but a fountain definitely will. That's a big difference too. It's not I don't think it's just a technicality. These are pretty much different books. They're not the same book to me, especially this chapter. Verse 6, verse 8. It says here that Elohim, Yahweh, or Jehovah, planted a garden, and he placed there the man whom he had formed. Adam didn't have a choice where he would be placed. And think about your life and where you're living right now. I live in North America. I didn't choose to be born here, although we have choices to move wherever we want. At the same time, nonetheless, we are, in a way, destined to be where the place we are, where we're born, in our families, and speaking whatever language for a purpose. I don't believe anything is by accident. So that's an important thing to remember, that some people, they're somewhat anxious, somewhat fearful of the rapture or place of safety. How am I going to get there? Is it a certain country? Or the truth is, wherever you need to be, wherever Jehovah needs you to be, you can be certain he'll bring you there. He'll either let you know explicitly, or maybe in a dream, something like that, or he'll just bring you there miraculously, like carry you away in a mighty wind. Who knows? But he can do it. It's not out of his power to do so. So that's something we need to keep in mind, especially in these days. Verse 9, it says here, pleasant versus beautiful. Verse 9. So every tree that is pleasant to the sight. When I think of the word pleasant, I think, okay, it's pleasant. It's not torturous. It's neither a 1 or a 10. It's more of a 5. It's moderately good, maybe 5, 6 at the most. But the Septuagint doesn't say there are pleasant trees. Every tree was beautiful to the eye. For something for me to be beautiful, it's got to be at least a 9, maybe even at the lowest an 8. But anything less than that wouldn't be beautiful to me. So I'm thinking exceptionally pleasant, exceptionally pleasing to the eye. So these trees were not your run-of-the-mill trees. They were beautiful to the eye and good for food. Again, these are different books in my mind, in my humble opinion. Verse 12. Okay. Carbuncle and emerald. Okay, this is interesting. Verse 12, carbuncle. I'm going to look up, first let's look up onyx. Onyx, I know, is a stone. It is black. I know that much. So this is onyx. It is a silicate mineral. There it is right there. Oh, you can see that that's onyx. I'd rather not. Okay. Bdellium. I don't know how to pronounce that, but bdellium is the other one in verse 12. It is a substance, a gum resin. So if we look up what it looks like, that's what it looks like, something like that. Okay. And then if we look at the other one in the Septuagint, what is a carbuncle? I don't even know what that is. A carbuncle. Oh, yuck. Okay, that's not. I'm looking at warts. I don't know how that happened. Okay, wow. So this is a carbuncle. Get ready. This is quite. There's so many colors of carbuncle. Okay, well, I'll just show you some images. That's what a carbuncle looks like. As you can see, that is not onyx or bdellium. And we all know what emerald looks like, but just for the sake of showing you, we all know it's green. That's emerald. And it just got me thinking, is that the same thing as jade? Emerald? Emerald is a green gemstone, a beryl variety, and jade is an ornamental stone. So they are not the same. No, but anyhow, the Septuagint and the Masoretic text are not the same, as you can see. If I told you today I was wearing a white kimono, or someone told you that, you would say they were lying because you saw me today. This is not white. This is like tan. So that's essentially what the Masoretic is. It's a false witness. Anyway, I'll keep going. Just something minor as this is a big difference. 14, verse 14, it says in the MT, He Dekel, the third river, whereas in the Septuagint it's the Tigris River. Okay, the Tigris. They're not the same thing. You could probably do a study on all these differences, but I'm just going to highlight them for this video and not really go too deep into it unless it's, doctrinal or salvation issue. Verse 15, the MT says the Garden of Eden, and the L, or the 70, says the Garden of Delight. So maybe that's another meaning of the word Eden, could be delight. 17, there's a warning here. This is just a general statement where Elohim says to Adam, don't eat of this tree, the knowledge of good and evil. And I forgot to mention in verse 9, it's not only known as the garden or the tree of good and evil, of the knowledge of good and evil. It actually says here, the tree of learning the knowledge of good and evil. So it's not just, I know this and I don't do anything about it. It's learning, and the word for learning and knowing in Hebrew, on a Hebrew mindset is, or Hebraic mindset, is to experience something, to do it. It's action oriented. So if I'm learning something, it's hands-on. It's not being narrated or tutored to you. Simply, it's not simply told to you verbally. It's something you actually do. So if I'm learning, how to garden, I'm not just sitting at a desk and reading about gardening. I'm actually out in a garden, tilling the soil, planting seeds. That's learning gardening. Learning to cook isn't just reading a book. Learning to cook is actually trying to cook. You get all the tools, all the ingredients. That's learning to cook. And that's also knowing as well. So it says here, learning the knowledge of good and evil. That's what the tree is. That's a big difference from just knowing. So continuing in 17, verse 17 says, but of the tree of pretty much learning the knowledge of good and evil, don't eat of it. If you do, you're going to die. And it's not, for the first time, I didn't read it the way I usually read it since the beginning, is I've been reading it like this. Oh, don't, you see that chocolate over there? Yeah, it's behind glass. Don't eat that. It's not good for you. But you can see it looks like chocolate. It looks great. But, you know, it's not, when you eat it, you'll die. So I perceived it like, oh, really, that's taboo. That it's forbidden fruit. So there's got to be a reason why you're keeping it from me, because maybe it does taste good, right? Maybe it's not what you say. But Elohim's warning them. He's not just saying, I feel like he's not just saying don't eat of it because, you know, I'm holding something good back from you. I'm withholding it because I know it's good and you should eat it, but I don't want you to, because I don't want you to share in that, because, you know, I just don't want to give you good things. No, it's not like that. Today I read it for the first time like this. Okay, like pretend I'm your friend and we're out in the wilderness and you're hungry. You tell me, hey, look at that. That looks, I'm so hungry. I could eat this, right? That's safe, right? I'll say, no, don't eat that. It's poisonous. If you eat that, you'll die. It'll kill you. That's how he's saying it. That's the first time, for the first time reading it that way, not just as, oh, you want my chocolate? I've been hiding this chocolate from you. Because, no, you don't want that. No, you don't want that, man. It's going to kill you. You won't like it. That's how I used to read it. Now I'm reading it more like, whoa, don't eat that. Like, I care about you, my friend. Don't eat it. It'll kill you. Just trust me on this. It's poisonous. Like, for example, what's that plant? It's a red one. They give it away around December time. But there are a lot of plants that if you eat it, it'll kill you. So you got to be careful. And this is Jehovah saying, don't eat from this. You're going to die. It'll kill you. It's not how I used to read it. So I think it's important that we perceive this warning and also sin the same way. You know, oh, yeah, sin, it looks good. It feels good. And your body's telling you that it's good. But no, don't do it. Actually, it's going to kill you. You know, it's not like I'm withholding it from you because I don't want you to have good things. It's because that's going to lead you to your death, your eternal death. So please don't do it. I'm just telling you, like, as a concerned citizen, as a concerned friend, you know, as your father, basically. He's our father. He's telling them, specifically Adam and Eve, don't eat from this. The day you eat of it, you will die. But actually, in this narrative here, Eve hasn't been formed yet. So I guess he's only talking to Adam, which you would assume, you know, Adam would also tell Eve, yeah, don't eat from this fruit. He told me don't eat from it. And Eve understood it maybe a little differently, especially since she spoke to the enemy, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So verse 18 says here, a suitable, in MT, a helpmeet for him. A helpmeet for him in the 70, it says a helpmeet, a help suitable to him. So let us make for him. Wow, okay, wow, just as I didn't even notice this before, okay. In the MT, it says, I will make him a helpmeet for him. I, just one, the Father. Septuagint doesn't say that. It says, let us, plural, let us make for him a help suitable to him. So it's a two-man operation at least. And I stress this verse because the animals can help you. Obviously, we know that today. Horses help. Oxes help, dogs help, birds help. A lot of animals can be very useful, and not just for eating, but actually animals of labor, beasts of burden. They actually help us. They can help us till the soil. They can help us watch the sheep, all these things. But Elohim qualifies this help as not just a help, but suitable to him. So what that word means, I don't know exactly. It could be a help that looks like him, maybe, I don't know. But it's not just a help. It's not a regular help. It's a help suitable to him, not for him, like the animals, not just simply a help meet for him. It's a help suited to him. You know, for example, you wear a suit, you don't want it too loose. It's got to fit nice and be suitable, like custom made. This is, I think, along those lines. This is suitable to him. He's an individual. He has very specific needs. He has specific needs, and we got to make him a help specific to him, not just a general help. Okay. 19. This is clearly like a flashback or a build on the narrative of the sixth day. It says here, yeah, so again, this, although in the second verse, you have to remember that the Septuagint, Masoretic, all of these scriptures were never divided into chapters. They're all one long narrative. There were no chapter breaks, only paragraph breaks. It's man who decided to put numbers and verses on them. The only thing that actually is there is paragraphs. So this is one big story, one wall of text from Genesis 1 to the end of Genesis. And the thing is, with this verse 19, it sounds like it's rewinding, like all these events that I'm telling you about, that we're being told about, is before the seventh day. This is during the sixth day. So a lot of people get a little confused about it, and they kind of twist it to say that these are two books. No, it's the same book. It's just, can I tell you what happened yesterday? Yeah, so this is what's happening. This is the sixth day, the events of the sixth day, okay? It says, Elohim formed yet farther out of the earth the wild beasts of the field and the birds of the sky, brought them to Adam. So it sounds like there was more creation going on even after Adam. So this is, people say that, not just people, but it's actually it says here that man was created in the sixth day, right? He was formed out of the dust of the earth, or actually it says here, formed Adam, dust of the earth. So you can take that as we are dust of the earth, or we're just from the dust. But another word to understand Adam is red earth. So we are red earth, technically. We are all Adam, if you're a human being, or even a woman, doesn't matter. You're Adam. Instead of human or mankind, Adam is the best way to describe us. And that's how Jehovah sees us, Adam. He calls us Adam. And all of us who are alive, who ever lived, descended from this one, Adam. Okay, where am I now? So even though Adam was created on the sixth day, there was still creation going on. The wild beasts of the field and the birds of the sky were created on this day because he brought them to Adam. It says here formed. Or maybe it's rewinding, I don't know. But anyway, he brought them to him and he named them all. They were tame. And at one point they were able to speak a language that we could understand and they could understand. We're all speaking according to Jubilees. So it's not mentioned here, but that's implied because he named them. So how would they know their name if they couldn't understand it? Do you understand what I'm saying? If you're my friend and I say, hey, what's your name? You tell me, oh, I don't have a name. Okay, your name is now Buddy. Your name is Buddy from now on. So what are you going to say? I'll call you Buddy, and you'll say, yeah, my name is Buddy. So if I call you, let's just look at a bird, an eagle. If you're an eagle, I say, hey, you are an eagle. And then the eagle will say, okay, I'm an eagle. How would the other animals know his name? They would address him by the name, an eagle. You see what I mean? And even the animals would say, "Hey, Adam." Like, yeah. So if you start talking to animals, if you really try it, you'll see that they do understand what you're saying. They respond to their name, obviously. But if they could speak to us, they can't anymore. But if they could, and if Jehovah opens their mouth, they would call us, "Hey, Adam." Like, yeah. Well, you'll actually probably go, "What? What? You're talking?" So yeah, that's verse 19. Verse 20. There were help me, but not like to himself. So it says here in the MT, Adam did not find a helpmeet for him, but in verse 20 it says he did have help, but it just says that there was not found a help like to himself. That means, that implies, reading between the lines, that there was a help, but they weren't like him. They did help him, but they weren't like him. He needed a help like him for many reasons, obviously to procreate, to companionship, to make more of himself, to reproduce. And there are other needs too, emotionally, all those things, spiritually. So 22, verse 22, Adam means man. We can see that here because the MT, it says, he taken from man, made a woman, he brought her to the man. But Septuagint doesn't say that. It says, he took from Adam the rib, turned it to a woman, and brought her to Adam. Doesn't just call him man, he calls him Adam. So, but like I said earlier, man means Adam and Adam means human. But that's the way Elohim sees us, as Adam. And even the angels, when they speak to us, they usually call us son of Adam or son of man, which is son of Adam, literally in the Hebrew. 23, this is a wow verse. Adam said, she was taken out of her. Okay, this is interesting because this is probably a memory verse. A lot of people do memorize this verse. This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken out of man. So beautiful, right? Well, let's read the Septuagint. It's even more beautiful. And Adam said, this now is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken out of her husband. Her husband. Let me try to bring a dramatic spin to this. I'll just dramatize this. This now is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken out of her husband. Do you hear the difference? Rather than just taken out of man. So I think that's a very big difference. Oh, you're taken out of some dude, some guy, some man. No, you're taken out of your husband, out of me. It's such an intimate thing. And the next verse just makes more sense now because it says there, therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and shall cleave to his wife. His wife. And they shall be one, to become one, echad, one flesh. People misunderstand this concept. Hear, O Israel, Jehovah is one. Jehovah. Oh, that means there's just one, just the Father. No. I'm one flesh with my wife, if I have a wife someday. Although we're two, we're one. We're united in unity, unified. But if you were to tell me Jehovah Echad, oh, just one? No, Jehovah unified, united. The Father and the Son, Abba and his anointed, his Mashiach, the Word from the beginning in John chapter 1. The two are one. I can't comment on the Holy Spirit. I don't really know much about that. I know a lot of people do believe in the Trinity. Personally, I don't. Maybe I'm just lacking understanding, but I don't want to discredit anyone who believes in that anyway. So this makes more sense now. It's such a lovely book. I was telling a friend earlier today that I was going to do a live stream on a Bible study, and I said to her that, I've been reading the Bible for quite a while, and it's amazing because the Bible is brand new to me all over again. It's like you had a spouse for 20 years of being married, and you find out 20 years later that all this time she's been Wonder Woman. Or if you're a woman, all this time he's been, I thought he was Clark Kent, but he's been Superman all this time. Taking off the shirt, revealing the big S. That's what I feel has happened with the Bible. I've always thought, I've respected the Word of God, and it's pleasant. Actually, more than that. But anyway, in a lot of ways, it's kind of bittersweet because you're going, oh, that doesn't make sense. This teaching doesn't line up with my opinions. For example, I'm just going to throw one out there. The heart is deceitful and wicked. What? I'm deceitful and wicked. That brings me down, man. Or a second one is like, people who keep Sabbath, the Shabbat, don't speak your own words. Like, what? I can't speak words? Like, these are my words. Hello, I'm hungry. I'm in pain. That's my words. This is my opinion. No, it doesn't say that at all. Those two beliefs are just destroyed by the Septuagint, and thankfully so. I'm so happy that that's not what the Bible actually says. That's not what God is actually saying. The truth is much more beautiful. Just like you see the comparison with the stones. Onyx, which is black, and bdellium, which is, they don't look that beautiful. Onyx is beautiful, I have to admit. One of my favorites. But when you compare that to the carbuncle, which is a variety of colors and ruby looking, and emerald, these are definitely more precious, more valuable stones. So that's the close of this chapter 2. Wanted to do a chapter a day. Didn't want to overwhelm myself. Didn't want to overwhelm viewers either. So my hope is that Jehovah's will be done. I'm not going to say what my hope is. Okay, I will. I kind of hope that more people would watch, because Jehovah plants, or man plants, but Jehovah really waters. He brings the increase. So I'm just going to keep hitting away with this, keep going. And I decided to not just do the Septuagint. I'm also going to do the New Testament. So I'm going to do the Old and the New, because the Word really isn't complete without Yeshua. So that's good news. I'm happy to announce that for the first time, live. Actually, not really live, but pre-recorded. So I'm going to be doing that. That's a big mission of mine. So we have like over 900 chapters, and then when you include the New Testament, that's another. Let me just look at how many chapters in the Bible, because I know if you look at, let me look this up. How many chapters in the Septuagint? And then I have to look up New Testament. Okay, doesn't exactly say. So I'm going to say how many chapters. How many chapters? Oh, I really should pause the recording. Okay, now I'm going to pause the recording. How do I do this? Pause recording. Okay, so there are, in actuality, over 1,300 chapters, well, 1,200 to maybe 1,400 chapters in both the Septuagint and the New Testament. So if I were to do a video a day, and I really should, it will take me approximately, I looked it up, 1,300 divided by 364, 3.5 years. 3.5 years. So this will end, hopefully, if I'm consistent with it, 2023, 2024, around there. It's quite a task to undertake. It's one thing to learn the Bible, it's another thing to live the Bible. So I have to make sure that I'm not just presenting these beautiful truths, these pearls of wisdom, this gold, this spiritual gold, but to actually live it. And it's a call to accountability. I've been faltering somewhat and have to rededicate myself to doing good to not just Elohim, but to my fellow man. So thank you all for watching. May Jehovah bless you all. May He make your way prosperous, and may you be led by His Holy Spirit to serve Him and obey Him, to love Him with all your heart, all your strength, all your soul, and to love each other as Yehoshua loved us. So until next time, Genesis chapter 3 will be next. Shalom.